Now, Andre is a returning learning consultant to Visa University. In fact, that's where I kind of met him. He has held various senior positions over 25 years with global brand organizations like Jones Lang Woolton, Visa for sure, HSBC, Dentsu, and also Franklin Covey, best known for their 7 habits. Okay. Now he has immense direct local deployment experience. My gosh, dig this list. Moscow, Russia, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, Korea, China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan, India, and Southeast Asia. Where hasn't he been? Oh my gosh. You have to answer my question there. Okay. Now, Andre believes in the shaping of an enriching development experience for everyone, in particular the youths in our community, and continues to be an active volunteer. Andre earned his BA in Communications and Media from the University of South Australia, my gosh, and attained postgraduate diploma in Integrated Counseling and Psychotherapy. And apart from being a certified practitioner of the CBT model, for those of you who are not aware of what CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. It's such a powerful model that a lot of counselors and therapists are actively using this widely used in the educational sector as well. And he is trained to interpret various profiling reports from Hogan to Lumna and also StrengthsFinder. Okay. Now today he's going to share with us on how he can assess, cultivate, and build associated talents. All right. Thank you so much.
So hi everyone. That's a long introduction. I never expected that. And I can
Well
tell you,
deserving.
those are just titles and certificates that happens to come through my life as I went through that. One thing I will tell everyone is that every single certificate, even from my basic degree, was all done while I was working. I had never had the opportunity to take time off from work to ever do any of these things. So if, on the topic of brand, let me just give you a story first. What you see visually is the career journey that I have. And I broke it up into 3 decades. And just also in the line of transition, and things, change every decade. I'm sure you know that. I'm also branching out into different areas, but it's built on all my years of experience and expertise that I've built up. One thing that I clearly remember in the early 20s when I was working, I did do a lot of self-assessment. And this is not a tool. I sat down and asked myself, what was I great at? What was I good at? What was I happy at? And I even asked people around me, friends, bosses, colleagues, just to see if there's a different perspective, or whether I was dreaming up a wrong story. And when I found what I was great at, people affirmed that, and I was happy doing it, right? The real feeling is that when you're doing those tasks, you feel happy at it. Not only happy, you feel very powerful, and you can even advise in that task. You can even make improvements or innovate in it, and you know that that's your strength in that area. I spent a good first part of my 20-year-old age in that decade to just assess all of that and also learn new things. During that time, it's when, because I call it the deepen stage, and that's where I actually had worked with a ministry in Singapore, and then with a local business, and then eventually I opened my own setup as well, just to get better at what I was doing. And obviously, because I've been learning, I was good at training. I was good at producing training. I also had to learn how to manage a business and how to consult as well. All that from that early stage. And I got my certification and education all throughout that time. And not only did I have to do all of that without having the opportunity to stop and work, to stop and study, I never had the opportunity of anyone paying all this for me. I paid for it all by myself. And I never waited for any organization or anyone to say, hey, let me provide support for you, we'll pay it for you. And I thought it will never come. So I took that upon me. So I think the mindset and the brand I had when I was in my 20s was very much around, utilizing your chance, finding out what your talents are and using it. Because no school, no curriculum in any school actually helped me get there, or I think helps us get there. And I found that through the hard knocks way, by making mistakes and just learning. And I followed a lot of mentors, and this was before YouTube, right? And I didn't have
Wow.
the ability of video. So whether they were nice people or not nice people, whatever it is, I put that bias out of my mind and I just look at the things that I could learn from them. And I think this is aligns to what Eileen was talking about, exposure. So I exposed myself, and I did, being my young age, I was bold enough to say to my boss as well, can I take that off you? Can I do that for you? And can you give me feedback? They would go for meetings in my 20s, when I was in my 20s, and I'll say, can I go with you? Can I take notes for you? Can I, it may sound very humbling, but people would then, your friends and mates that tells you, what are you trying to do? Polish the apple with the boss. But I didn't care whether it was polishing the apple. All I cared was, how was the boss speaking? How did he manage that conflict? What was happening in the room? What was the client asking? How did he, and I was picking all those up while taking notes and doing the job that I promised I would do. I would go up to senior leaders, senior consultants, and ask them, can you teach me this thing? And obviously I got turned down. They would say no, or they would say, oh, you're such a youngling. Don't waste my time. Fine, it's okay, right? Everyone has their day, and I need to start somewhere and I'll learn. And I'll probably say things like, what can I help you with if you teach me this?
Wow.
So what was there for you to lose? There's nothing to lose. Most likely they'll say, please get away from me and never talk to me again. Fine. But I knew that if I didn't deepen my knowledge, deepen my experiences, deepen, it was not gonna help me in my 30s. So this brings down to the theme or the brand that I carry. I always think in terms of 10 years. And I have this philosophy or this mantra: whatever I do now in every aspect of my life will impact the next 10. And I say that every year to myself. Whatever I do now will impact the next 10, the next
That's
10.
a good one.
And I think that has driven me to project a development or career that I'm looking for. And as you can see from there, as I move towards the next decade, between 2003 to 2012, that's in the my 30th year type of thing, I use the term sharpen there. I had amassed a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, a lot of exposure, but it was never about me being perfect, great, awesome. It was not a concern for me.
Right.
My concern was, how do I sharpen, so I get best. That was my inner life. And it was cultivating it now. So and don't get me wrong, I never stopped assessing my talents. I did. But in the sharpen, instead of spending so much time in assessing it, I wanted to cultivate it. I don't need to assess so much now. Just kept cultivating, sharpen it. Interestingly, as well, as I was doing this, I realized, oh my God, I did no certification in my 30s. But then I realized I was so busy sharpening what I have already learned. Did I then not take on new knowledge? No, it was not that. But I was just utilizing all that I've learned over the last decade into the current decade. And I picked up new skills. So from training and producing, from consulting to business managing, I even went to program and project managing, which was a bigger task. And these were all the different job types. So in my language, I differentiate in my thinking. A role that you see on LinkedIn Learning, all these roles, these are all not learning, but LinkedIn, these are all roles that people advertise out there. A role is a role. I don't never cared about a role. I cared about the job type, because if I can do different types of jobs, I can do many roles. And that was my mindset. I want to train. I can produce training. I can consult. I can do business management. This is all types. But in one role, it can encompass all these types. And that's where I started to get experience and exposure. I needed to do that. And one of the things I also do, I took what I call courageous roles. Being in learning all my time, I even stepped out to do business planning for HR. It was a huge role, and it does involve you rethinking the quality of your life. Some things you got to give up because it was a real conversation of zero knowledge. Well, maybe not zero, but single digit percentage of knowledge to function at a 90% knowledge at a consistent rate. And I put my hand up for it, and I spoke straight to the head of HR, and I asked them to have confidence. I said to have confidence in me, because these are the capabilities that I have. These are the types of things that I can do, and this made up about 50% of that role. And I also asked openly for a mentor to be there to guide me through it. So I asked for that support. I challenged myself to get into those roles, and I just did it. And I knew that you have to sacrifice something in your personal life to make that bold change. And I knew at that time it was the right time to do that, because that was when I had one of the best energies in my life. It was in my 30s. But that enhanced the fact that I got better at what I am, because it gave me what a lot of people term today as business acumen. And I'll give you an example of what that means. A lot of roles in the world don't always require revenue generation, right? We go to work and we don't have a revenue target. A lot of roles don't have that. Usually about a third of roles in an organization have a revenue target. 2/3 of roles don't have revenue target. And the challenge is when those roles interact with senior leaders, those roles who are 2/3, they don't have revenue targets. When they interact with senior leaders, when they interact with different business partners, they don't talk about the dollars. They just talk about the work, the efficiencies, but there's no dollar sense there. And this is where I started to integrate dollar value to what I'm doing in learning and development. There must always be a dollar. There must always be a dollar, regardless of your job. Especially more when you talk to a senior person, especially more in interviews. That dollar sense in your mind, what we call business acumen or commercial mindedness, is so important, because then they get to see that you are thinking about cutting costs, you're thinking about making things more efficient, and you're thinking about getting the best impact out of the least amount of dollars. And that's exactly how I take conversations when I see my internal partners or businesses, because it's not always about, can you do this? Right? What's the impact? What's the dollars you're looking at? Will these dollars get you that impact, or the other way around? So I've learned that over those last 2 decades, just pulling all that together, because it's part of project management. See, when we talk project management, we think steps for you to manage something efficiently. That's good, great. There's certifications for things like that. But what about the dollars? What about the dollars? Every delay has a dollar. Every phase has a dollar. Every lateness has a dollar, right? Or every quickness also has a dollar. And having that in mind is going to make a whole lot of difference. And I'll give you an example as well. When going for interviews in my 30s, when, typical questions when you think about learning would be, what programs have you deployed? Which country? Right? What were the programs? Great. But the thing I asked, in fact, I love to go for interviews because I ask the interviewers questions. The thing I ask is, and the thing I also tell them is, when I do roll out this is the impact. And I think that's the biggest thing to talk about. The impact to the dollars, the impact to the engagement scores, the impact to the manager effectiveness scores. This is what we want. And I know Eileen was talking about knowledge, skills, abilities, experiences. This is also key. But the magic is also linking all of that, and she mentioned this, to impact. I think when I went for any interview, telling them about education, knowledge, skills, abilities, experiences, everyone in the fish pond has this in different ways. Everyone. I can guarantee you, only a few will talk about the impact they made. And the impact they can make. So 2 things. Made is past, can make is if you get this role, or when you do get this role. And that's where it's lacking. And I've noticed this even in people that I've interviewed. When you talk about the impact you've had before, they can't articulate that. And I say the impact you think you can make. And I said, let's be clear, let's be fair. You're not in this role, but in your mind at least, what do you think can be the impact you made? Don't worry about being right or wrong. The reason why I asked that is I want to see if they're thinking impact, save business money,
Yeah.
make sure we are doing the right thing. Does it help people?
Yeah.
And that's the fundamental of the brand. If you are coming in thinking about that,
Yeah.
that's exactly what the employer wants to hear. And I don't think we don't have that. I think all of us do. The best example, if you're going for a holiday, I don't think all of you would just buy 5-star hotels, sit in first class, just without thinking, right?
That's you,
won't
right,
say,
Andre?
no way.
Come on,
I
you're
wish,
revealing
I
yourself.
wish. I wish that would happen. And it's always about, you got to choose your seat and you got to pay a bit more. Oh, but you
Yeah.
got to pay 2 ways. Oh,
I know,
that's
right?
like-
Yeah.
yeah.
The string is that short. You tuck it here, and then something's got to give.
Yeah,
Straight
and
off.
$100 more is maybe a week's worth of coffee that you drink when you're there. And
Well,
things
depends
like
on
that.
what you
So-
drink.
But that's the thing, and I put on that mindset. That's the
Yeah.
same brand. The thing is, we have all these capabilities, but we need to spend time looking at the roles we're interviewing for. And it's not about the homework is when the interviewer calls you. Please remember which role you apply for.
I know.
Sit down, look at all the roles in there, and think of the types of jobs. What is this job about? There'll be 4, 6, maybe some 12 points. And this is like program management. Or this is like this, and this is like producing something. This is like, and I start to think, okay, where have I produced something? Okay, where have I managed? And I quickly think of these examples. And as you think of those examples, obviously, please write it down and then ask yourself, what was the impact it created? What were people saying about it when that happened?
Perfect. Yeah.
And everyone needs to do that. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
So that's how I've progressed in over those 2 decades. The last piece I'll share, and I'll just shout a bit more. But before I do that, I'm just going to pause. Let's get some recognition here on chat. If you think this is helping you so far, can you give me a yes?
Nice. Wonderful.
Okay. Drop me a yes in the chat if you think this is
yes.
helping. Yes, I see.
Just type a
VGL.
yes.
Yes. Okay, awesome. Super. I got a 1-up better than that. Lester gave me a super. And you gave me great stuff.
Oh.
The competition is on, guys.
I'm going to give you a live applause.
Ryan, thank you for the thumbs up. Give you very much. Invaluable. Awesome, guys. Thank you.
So
And I'm
nice.
ringing Juliana. Career Maps, a creative way to illustrate your current talents. Thank you. And I'll share this. Look, I'm Singaporean as well, so I go through all the stuff that we are faced when we apply for global roles, and it's all there. It's all there. But I like to take any bias or judgment or anything, and I just take it and I chunk it into the trash bin before I go and meet them. Because to me, it doesn't matter. I would take a stance of I've had an experience, I've gone through my learnings, these are my networks, and I bring value, and this is the value. Because those are conversations that I have when I look
Yeah.
at roles and I think about. And in the 2013 to 2022 decade that I've had, that's where I decided I need to broaden. Right? And it's not that I stopped learning, not that I stopped assessing. As you can see, there are more certs coming out during that time. It's a bit more learning, but it's an expansion. I'm a
Right.
trainer, I teach, I design, I coach. What else can I do differently along the same line? So meaning it's the same road, but a different branch. And that's why I branched out into psychotherapy, branched out into fitness coaching. It's like the same thing, but I'm doing it based on a bit more interest, where I think my next stage would be as I move into my 50s and 60s. Is always thinking about blocks of 10, and those are the directions I was going with. And it's progressed throughout that time. And what I've done as well, the moment there is an interest, what I do then is I go back to my organization and see if there are interest groups or there are initiatives that they want to launch related to that interest that I have.
Right.
And then I champion it if I can. Or if there's none, then there's none. But one of the key things I would share with you as a mantra, even I did this even in my 20s, and it gets even more luckier for all of us when LinkedIn was born, right?
I know.
One, I always look for job roles on LinkedIn. Always, whether I really want to move or I don't want to move, I look for it. Now, let me clarify my intentions. one. Why do I look for it? And I tend to look for similar roles where, first intention, similar roles to where I am. I spot the market trend to see if the roles are evolving. Because in my current role, I can't see whether other roles similar as me are evolving, and I want to see that in the market. The moment I notice roles similar to my level, similar, right, best guess, they are evolving. There's a new component in there. Maybe they said have to do generative AI. Maybe it's like, oh, that's something I think that's coming up. I know what to do next, and I start going harder on these areas here. And an example would be when I look for learning roles prior, many decades ago, it didn't come up. But now learning roles are consultative, partnership building, business acumen. Many decades ago, it didn't have that.
Yeah.
But throughout that journey, I built that. So I intentionally look for roles similar to mine with that intent.
Yeah.
Why? Then I look for opportunities in my current role to cover that gap. So when I match myself to the market out there, I'm already at par in terms of what I'm doing. Right? And you know that because you do that, your current role will never pay you at par to where the market is, right?
Yeah.
So if you have already learned that gap, it makes you already able to generate that and ask for it.
Yeah.
So I want to build the ask. I'm not ashamed to ask because I have already built it there, and I will ask.
Right.
So that's what I do. I do role comparisons. The second thing I do on LinkedIn is I try to connect as many people. And LinkedIn does that for you. People in the same field, same alumni, whatever. Just connect. Say hi to them. How can I help you? Just tell them I'll say things. I'm in learning. If there's any advice you need or tips about or any ideas you want to brain bash with me, please reach out. And I do that. And there's also an opportunity for you to open up to be a mentor on LinkedIn, I think. And you get pings, people coming in to offer advice. And those are opportunities to do that. So I utilize LinkedIn in such a way so that it benefits me in terms of my network and my growth, and also reaching out to different people out there.
I really
But I'm gonna
love
pause
that.
here.
It's very nice. Yeah, it's so cool. It's keeping you relevant to the market just when the role have evolved. Yeah, I really like that. It's so cool.
And that's important because, I had people who ask me, personal, I have asked as well, should I ask for a 10% increase, 15%, 25%? And I honestly say, you can ask for any increment you want. The next question they will ask you is, how do you justify that? Right? We can ask anything we want, but we all fail at the justification. So please think, what have I done? What am I doing now? When that opportunity comes, I can ask for that increment because I can justify this is what I've done.
Yeah.
And I have the testimonials and I have the track record to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, last piece. And then please ask questions. Just thinking, right? Guide. I don't know whether this is going to help, but this is my guide. We all work. We have bills to pay, and I know that's tiring. And I could feel that, especially with kids and things that you got to do. But ultimately, no matter what it is, whether you have to work 14 hours, 16 hours, and I've experienced those in my career as well, many years, 16 day, 14 hours a year still. But I ask myself ultimately, right in the middle, I must build a life I want to live over time. I must build that life. And what is that? And it may not have happened in the decades when I was in my 20s or my 30s, but I started to get harder on that message in my 40s and making sure that it happens in my 50s. So think in blocks of time. Think of 10 years. At least for me, it worked that way. You can break it down, it's up to you. But think of the type of work trends, and that's what I talk about. Look what's out there in the market. Look at how the role is moving. It's going to help you because then you can start building it now. Network. Get into LinkedIn. Try networking and start to go for that. I don't know whether this is something you like. I'm an introvert, Eileen, if you believe it or not. I don't like
Very difficult to believe.
I don't like to go for socials, but I push myself to attend business socials.
Right.
Whether it's connect events, I just go. And it helps if they serve alcohol, so I can start talking at least.
I see.
Evolve. Your role is going to evolve. Whether you see a role out there for the next stage or not, start changing the way you think. What you do today is not going to be the same tomorrow. Start to rethink what can be done differently. And if we don't, someone else will. And that's why I push myself to evolve and read a lot. If not here, then elsewhere. I never had the opportunity to be posted overseas. A lot of the opportunities came. I was so close and the door was shut because there was a changing government and they stopped visas. If you know which country I'm talking about, you can't go over there and all that stuff. So I've always had, can't blame anyone for this. It could be just the fate that I've always had. But the intent here is I've always put my hand up, and I knew that just staying in my home country is not going to benefit me.
Right.
And when I couldn't get overseas posting, what I put my hand up were global jobs. Now, let me just clarify this. Not global roles. But I couldn't get a role. I say I don't mind taking on this responsibility for a global portfolio, and I'll work work in Singapore. I'll follow US time or follow UK time. And I put my hand up for that bold request.
Nice.
The last piece is back up your interests. Get certified. Volunteer. If you think funds is a problem with getting certification, which was clearly for me over the years, and I had to find ways to get that. I volunteered in that. For example, I wanted to be a psychotherapist as an extension. I wanted to do counseling. I had to search for funds for many years, right? And we all know we have a CFO in our organization. I am the CFO, but at home I have a CEO who tells me how to spend that.
So well
right?
put.
Yeah. So the funds are always not decided by the CFO. And it took a while. And then that's when I had an idea, why don't I volunteer? So I volunteered being a counselor, Now, of course, when you volunteer, you don't do the full job, but you get into the network, you get into the circle.
You get the gist of it.
Things done. Yeah. And when people talk to you about it, I have experience and exposure. I have. I don't have the full thing, of course. I don't. I'm still alive. I'm not dead yet.
And you definitely have the knowledge because you're going to be seeing a myriad of cases and stuff.
That's right.
That itself is like first-hand knowledge, not second-hand, right?
Yeah. So I got involved. And how did I do that? I talked to people who were graduates from counseling programs. I said, hey, is there anything I can volunteer with? And they shared different ideas, and I just, okay, great, let's do that. Or if you have an association, whether it's religious or not, you can get involved to help counsel. Do it. Yeah, I mean, in that sense, if you like my field. But that's how I would say if experience couldn't come to me or exposure couldn't come to me, I will not sleep until I find a way to go to it.
Yeah. You know the last part where I said 70-20-10, the last part about self-directed learning, yours is self-funded learning. It's like, whoa. Yeah, you don't wait for handouts. Why not, right? If you have handouts, but you don't wait, right? Because it may come at the wrong timing. And since you want it, just go get it. I like your go-getter attitude.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, if they fund it, why not?
Why not?
And, why not? But never had that opportunity. I guess it's fated for me. But hey, nobody's gonna. I mean, everyone's will praise you once the time comes. You have that cert and you're ready to go, right? It's all your effort. Yeah.
I think this sharing is so relevant, Andre, because a lot of us sometimes we hear stories about people being very fortunate and lucky that they've got this opportunity to kind of work in that fanciful project, and then others might feel like, what am I left with? This is not like it's getting the attention that it deserves. But you make the best out of it. I really like that resilient attitude. Agile too. Self-funding.
If I just go back, I just show you a perspective of a timeline. Sorry, let me just go back again. I want to share that story. You see that resilient perspective. Here we go.
Yeah.
Can you see the timeline is still there?
Yeah.
Am I still sharing it?
Yeah. I can see.
I think it was in the 2003, 2012. I had a COO. We were just chatting, right? And he said to me, don't. What was it? He said, we were going through a lot of restructuring, massive amount of restructuring. And he said, in all your life, don't think about a job, right? That's where he told me, don't think about a job, don't think about a role. He said, think about employability, how employable you are. Not if you can get the next role, the next job, because you may not like it. But if you're employable, anything happens in an organization, they restart it, you are the most pliable, bendable person to take on that new task because you're
Right.
employable. So it means really thinking much bigger of all the different things that you can do. And testing it out.
Yeah, I really like that too. Because, in talking to employers and hiring managers, I remembered one of the hiring managers said, why would I want to spend so much time talking to someone who's a professional when I don't have a open position, right, to fill? I'll be wasting my time. And
Yeah.
you know where this is leading to. So
Yeah.
basically, yeah, I had to tell him that, but what if you need, someone to replace, your current team member? Then what do? You are subjected, you have just subjected yourself to the usual ways and delaying the process compared to if you already have a name. So build a pipeline of talents, right? So this
Yeah.
is so cool, is the reverse now. We're talking about making yourself employable. So don't talk to employers only when you see a job opportunity there. Go out and talk to as many as possible. Lovely.
And I see
Employability.
YS Lim having a question there. When you connect with industry peers in similar roles, what kind of insights do you look for?
Yeah.
And how do you make it easy for them to share info? I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's for me, right?
Yeah.
Being an introvert is always a challenge, so I have to mentally prepare that I'm going for a session like this. Usually, if I meet someone who's a peer, similar roles, different organization, different levels, I really don't care. And we'll start off by saying, "Hey, what's the most interesting project you guys are on?" And it's an innocent question to ask. They're never going to tell you 100%. They may never tell you the truth. I don't care.
Yeah.
But what I'm listening is next question is like, so what are you guys learning from it? What's working? What's not? It's just simple questions, network questions to ask. And then you just share your bit. Oh, I had something similar like that. Yeah, it didn't work like this. Oh, this vendor didn't work for you. Oh my goodness, I'll put it on my blacklist. Thank you so much. Just stuff like that you talk about. But I also then, say to them, hey guys, if you ever want to do an industry exchange of learning, how we do our own learning, how you do your own learning, shall we keep connected? So one day we could have like a fireside chat. You come over to my place, we talk about what learning is for you, how you develop leaders. Maybe I go over to your place. So it's not like I'm looking for a job. How can we help each other in the network? And you never know, right? These
You
things,
never know.
they eventually leave one day and then, they already know you.
Yeah. And their peers have already met you. I mean, you can't control when the job opportunity will be available, and neither can you control whether you are available when it shows up, right? So no harm expanding your network of contacts and talking to people. The 20% social learning. I mean, we don't have to shoehorn it, but these are opportunities.
Yeah.
Very
It
nice.
is. I mean, because Singapore reported we are 5.72 or 92 million population already. Million, right? 5.
Else we'll be spilling over into the
was
ocean.
Too many islands already. 5 point something million, 5.7, 5.9 or something like that. And
5.92 million. There you go.
that's 5.92, right? Is it correct? Yeah. Imagine that. Imagine the amount of resumes going around for a job.
Yeah. We're living in good times because we've got LinkedIn, and also there are jobs transparency as well, so to speak, because in the local context, at least some of the local jobs we needed to make sure that it gets posted, even in the local jobs bank. Yeah, for sure. We've got a question coming in. Now, I mean, basically we've got many other questions as well, but let's take a look at this too. Do you agree that the job market landscape today is very different compared to 10, 20 years ago? Yes, for sure. Yeah. Every time I see a LinkedIn job posting, I see a lot of applicants. Yeah. At one time, thousands even for one role. I feel the hiring system is broken. Well, the traditional way, for sure, where 80 to 90% of job posting have candidate already in place. I assume networking and building relationship before a job opportunity exists is the way to go. There you go, Andre.
Yeah, I think let's look from the perspective. Now, when we ask ourselves, firstly, thank you for that question. Obviously, I asked that question too. So we are like the customers, right? We are the
Yeah.
customers to the companies. Let's turn our lens towards the recruiter. Okay, let's look at the recruiter. The recruiter is receiving thousands of applications, and the recruiter have multiple channels for this. LinkedIn is one of them. Their own career site is another one. They have an internal referral system, which is a third one. And I don't know whether they have a fourth and fifth one, but I know these are the three general ones that you have. Think amount of information that's flying at them. So people look at different ways to get into an organization. So firstly, I think the order here is also spotting the industry that you want to get in and spotting the companies that you want. So you are also filtering where you go in and assuming that you're not also fishing too widely.
Yeah.
It also depends on our situation in life, right? But I also think if you throw too much a net that's too wide, you end up getting jobs you don't like, and you only stay for a while and you go. It's going to hurt your resume. It can happen, it may not, but it's always a chance. So why am I playing 50-50 here? What we need to do is start looking, besides the job. If let's just say it's ABC company that has this role, why don't you go into ABC company and look at who are the recruiters in ABC company? See, so that's what people are doing too. So they write to them directly. Right? That's another way to get attention. But what we can also do is also realize that if your resume is it's written in such a long-winded format and it's not succinct. Look, I say all of this and you go, but I can't write. We don't have this excuse anymore. Just ask ChatGPT to make it clean and cut for you, right? Nowadays we have that, so easy.
Yeah.
Just don't waste time anymore. Now we just spend 20% of our brain correcting ChatGPT, right? And just get that going. But remember, short, clear, sharp. But think about at least 3 things you want to say about yourself. 3 or 4, maximum 4 things you want to say. What is it about you? And I had this question here as well, and it aligns to what Juliana is asking. We can't have the same brand all the time for all the roles we're applying for. It does not make sense. It's like saying, can Taylor Swift be Taylor Swift when she wants to do banking? No, it's not going to work.
Okay. Maybe personal banking, maybe portfolio wealth
Maybe
management.
personal banking, maybe
Yeah.
private
As a
banking,
portfolio manager
but
with
not
all
over
her
the counter.
contacts.
No. Like, can you stop
Yes.
dancing, please, and count the money correctly?
Yes, that's like yeah.
So she may have to tweak her personal brand. She may
Right.
have to highlight other things of her brand that she didn't highlight because of the roles that she's in. So it's tweaking, right?
Yeah.
It's always tweaking. You have your baseline brand. What is it you want to say about yourself? 3 things, 4 things. What is it you want to say? Then you got to tweak based on the role that you're applying for. And it's always the case. It has to happen. It is a tiring thing to do. That's why I say filtering down to the type of company, the industry, the type of role, filtering it down, putting those keyword searches in LinkedIn, it will help you prompt by sending all those information to you.
And since
You
we are
can-
on this topic, I'm thinking. So sorry to interject.
No problem.
Well, because remember we had questions from the audience prior to the session, and so this came in particular with regards to I do not have any achievements. What stories
right.
can I tell?
Yeah, this is one that I'm gonna say this with my therapist mind in place, right?
Please.
But I don't know the full context you have there. It is impossible for anyone who's living on Earth to have no achievements. It is utterly impossible, and anyone can challenge me with this. We all have achievements.
Yeah.
We just have not positioned the achievements to where
So
we
right.
want to go.
Yeah, so right.
Right? It's impossible. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Unless you've been living in a vacuum, an archaeologist dug a hole and they found you. It's not, it's not gonna be that way.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's
let
where
me-
they need to speak to a career coach.
yeah, and I think I don't know whether this question comes from someone who's just left school or maybe
No.
you're unsure of yourself. Everyone has that. Everyone who's left school has uncertainties,
Right.
Insecurities. Everyone, even throughout my career, I have insecurities. I questioned myself. I doubted myself. But I think when we take time to sit down and think, what have I really achieved? The fact that you are constantly looking says you are curious. Curiosity is an achievement, right?
Yes.
Look, and what else do you do with that curiosity and searching? You found new learnings, you found new opportunities, you learn new stuff about new roles, you learn something new about the industry, and that talks about curiosity. So it's actually how we want to position it, and that's really, really important. I'm not again saying blow up or lie. It's not about inflating the wrong image or ego and lying, because that always comes down to bite us in the end. It's really about reframing how you think about what achievement is and how does that fit that role you're looking for.
Yeah. And I think this will definitely help in terms of you looking at your report card. Performance appraisal could be one opportunity to look at what you have achieved for that year. And if you have already left the job, you
Yeah.
can reflect back, right? The year that you had a above average rating, or even just an average rating because you did the job as asked, and maybe even share like, well, there are peers who didn't quite do that job that way, or I've seen how others have approached it. It's just different, and from there you can actually also share. Wow, very nice. Okay, there was also another question, Andre, about what is a typical good brand story?
Mm.
Yeah, that came early as well.
Yeah. I think when I see typical brand story and I saw also the brand story structure, I think the baseline is let's keep things simple and straight. Remember, recruiters are getting thousands and over
So true.
multiple channels and thousands. And there are ways that I've heard as well how people uh, cheat with resumes, use hashtags, hidden hashtags, and word searches. It all happens. Um, when everything is found out, obviously it doesn't meet the ethical requirements, right? So let's throw that away. But keep it simple and clear. Know about what is it. When I look at brand, I think of peace. Like this is a friend of mine from a company called Persona. He talks about it as well. One is, what is your passion? Can you define it? That's a brand. For me, passion is human development. I wouldn't even say people development, because it's not just their work life. It's that life in that self, the human
Totality.
development aspect. Yeah, it could be the next decade. Because when we talk about training, it's now today, right? I'm thinking about in the next 10 years, will you still be here with us? Is there something that you need? I got to think bigger. Not that I can provide it to them, but I want to think of solutions that's bigger and broader. So it's more human centric, not just a training. I think it's the passion that you bring, and you want to describe that. What is your passion? Purpose. Purpose is
Strength.
next. That's the second P. What is the purpose of you? And I'm going to ask this very hard question, which I was asked before by my own mentor. Why are you in this job? Or why do you want this job? Right? So two things. If you're in a job, why are you in this job? Why? And he kept asking me why with every question I gave, every answer I gave.
Yeah.
He'll go, and why? And why is that? And why is that so? And it became a bit harder with the more whys, but it got down to the root of the purpose. The idea here is to question what gives anyone a right or gives you the right to be in your role, and what gives the employer the right to want you in your role. There must be something that you want to highlight and bring. So we got to think hard for that. The employer is not going to think for us for this. And it's us who's going to differentiate ourselves. The third thing is, so just to make it easy, all P. So
Passion.
what did I say? Passion, purpose, power.
Yeah.
It must be some power
Three
that you have
Ps.
that you bring.
You're good.
3 Ps, right? There you go. Power. What is the power you have? What is it? And the power in your experience. What is that power? The power in your exposure. What is that power? The power in your education. What is it? Right? And then from there, you got to say, why is it different? Why is it different? And why you and why not someone else? And I ask myself these questions all the time, even in my current job. Why me and not someone else? As you can see, I don't sleep much as well. So I ask myself all these questions. But it's important to think. Hopefully it doesn't pressurize you unnecessarily, but you want to think about what can next year be for me? And I always ask this question, what can I do next year? My mind is always about what, I give you another acronym, 3 Bs. What can I build? What can I boost?
Right.
What can I BAU, keep the same, BAU, business as usual. It's always that in our life.
Wow.
Even if you go back to your family,
Oh,
the
I
same
like
3
this.
things, right? Same three
I
things in
like
your
this,
family.
yeah.
What will
Yeah.
you build, boost, and BAU? Don't
Yeah.
change, keep it the same.
Wow, nice. Andre's 3 Bs I put there. Build, boost. Hey, wait. I said
Build,
boot
boost, and BAU.
and
Double boost.
BAU. I said wrongly. Okay, and I think there was a quick question here about networking.
Yes, I see that.
Should we network with the hiring manager before? Yeah, and chat about job opening before submitting application. What
I
do
think
you
you I think you can ask questions. I don't think there's a
Right.
hard and fast rule, but when you talk about etiquette, that's personal. Right? Etiquette is to that degree is personal because you're reaching out one-on-one. You may think it's fine, but the manager might not.
Yeah.
The manager might think, oh, that's very unprofessional. Look, it's hard to say it's right or wrong, but it's an opportunity that you have, and if that's a real role that you want, you're really targeting for that. And if you feel compelled to want to do it, the spirit is moving you to say, reach out to that manager. Please think really hard to have a really good introduction, to explain what it is. Be so compelled to be clear with your passion, your purpose, your power, that, it's worth for me to get pinged on LinkedIn to reach out.
I would say please try and reach out to them even before, right? And it's a 50-50, right? It's a hit or miss.
It's a 50-50, yeah.
By the time the opportunity is available, I think the hiring manager, some might welcome that if not many people apply. Some might resist that or resent that, I don't know, because of either prior experience or too many people applying and they can't filter.
It's a 50-50, yeah, no right or wrong. It really depends. Tech companies, some managers like it.
Yeah.
Maybe more traditional companies, they don't. They find it's an intrusion.
Yeah. Okay, we have another advanced question.
Sure.
So the advanced question is, how to weave a consistent pattern of brand stories for every interview question during multiple interview rounds?
Yeah.
Wow, I like this one.
So one company, multiple rounds. Hey, first thing, great job. You're on the still alive.
Congratulations.
Fresh on the list, so great, awesome. And this what interviews sometimes can be tricky because some organizations say, oh, it's not an interview. Maybe the first 2 is an interview, but I need you to connect with different stakeholders.
Right.
But that stakeholder will ask you 10,000 questions. So you need to get your story right. Whatever story you use in the first part, please, for the love of your life, please write them down.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
Please write it down.
Write it down because you forget your own story.
Yeah, you forget your own story. And maybe with no ill intent, you forget it and you sound incompetent or you sound dodgy. And I can tell you why there are multiple rounds of interview, because all these stakeholders come together. And again, it's not all organization that practices this, but the hiring manager will go and talk to all these different stakeholders and ask them of the facts that were shared and then try to piece it together. Was it a story? Was it a consistent story that's been told? And that's an important thing. So be clear with your brand. What is it you want to say? What are the stories or examples that you can use? And be consistent with that. And when you finish that interview, write down, I told them A story, I told them B story, and what are the points in there? And make sure you don't lose that paper in the next round because they're going to ask you again. Do you ever notice as well, interviews will say things like, oh, you may have answered this or you may have shared this story, but I would like to hear it again?
Yeah. Very
That's
common.
what they're doing.
Yeah,
Why
very
would they
common.
ask that? Because that's what they're doing.
Yeah. That must be, I take that as an indirect hint to possibility that they like your story or they want you to dive a bit deeper. Maybe they have a point of clarification. I really like that question because I was thinking that same story can be retold using different lenses, because depending on who's, based on the multiple rounds, this new round, maybe there are new people listening in to that story. and then you can use from their perspective. So
Yeah.
maybe they're looking at it from like a user
Different lens.
yeah, different lens, right?
Yeah.
Like you are joining a sourcing team, but hey, someone from sales is there, so let's try and
Yeah.
understand what would sales be concerned with, and then
Yeah.
spin your story, just drawing out some bits that you have not mentioned from that lens. Perhaps
And
that would.
and I think from that weave that story as well, you should investigate on LinkedIn. Who's going to interview you. Do ask who is this person, what's the person's designation, and go to LinkedIn and look out for them. Let them know that you're looking at them.
They'll
It's
know.
okay. You're not doing anything, right? They'll
Yeah.
see, like, so if they have a premium account, they'll say
Yeah.
so and so has looked at your profile,
Yeah.
right? Doesn't matter,
Yeah.
because where else in the world can I go? I'm not in the
I think I'll
CIA
feel
or
happy.
FBI.
Yeah, I know. I think I'll feel happy other than Juliana's stalking. No, just
Just
teasing
look
her.
At the same time, look at the profile, and if you can, take the names and just drop it on Google to see if the names appear on any news article. Then you can go in and talk about, hey, I read your article, you were interviewed by la la la. This is.
I tell you.
You made.
Yeah. Even if we don't reach out and let's say drop them a message, I think it's kind of cool if assuming the person that who's going to interview you has been posting. It's good to know what they have posted.
Yeah.
Guess what, you might even like their post and then give a comment
Yeah.
or something, but I mean that's only when you are a bit more confident about the topic and POV. Point of view. You want to share
But
some
I also
point of view.
think LinkedIn now has evolved, right?
They
in
have,
the past you
yeah.
connected with someone, now you can just follow. You're not connected, but you follow.
Yeah.
So I think because
like
of
that.
feedback as it grows over the years,
Yeah.
Some people say there's too many connections. I can't connect with 5,000 people a day.
I know.
So you can follow, doesn't impact me, but you're not in my connection.
And what's beautiful is you can unfollow also.
Yeah.
Okay. No. Okay, so I would encourage everyone here to practice with Andre by connecting with Andre first. Oh no. What have I done?
problem.
What have I done? Okay, I like the next one. I thought I would build everybody's focus on this particular question, because it says how do I select multiple stories and not get too emotional or long-winded during the collated ones, sensitive ones.
Yeah. This requires several types of practices. One is you need to pick stories that are your winning stories, stories that highlight your strength, and hopefully those stories can also connect to that role that you want. That definitely. Know that story. Remember the date, the time. Remember the designations of the different stakeholders you work with. You don't have to tell names, right? But remember the story really well, and then they become like your trump card to always use. The second thing is we all need to get better at articulating our thoughts. We do need to do that. And there's nothing wrong. This will sound weird. It's not a training event. There's nothing wrong with you having fake interviews with your friends to just ask you tough questions and just go through it. I mean, before you go live, what is there for you to lose, right? Your friend may laugh at you, but you're the only ones going to go for the interview.
Yeah.
You need someone to challenge you with tough questions. If you said it in 100 words, you need to try and say you can cut it down by half.
Yeah.
It's not that you will use half of it, but be clear with the things you want to say in as clear points as you can so people understand it. Because our attention span always goes up and down in just a couple of within 1 minute.
I think I'll just chime in as well to talk about to address the emotional piece. I think step one is to write out your story. If you write out your story, just adding on what Andre has mentioned, at least number one, you remember what you said. Number two, at which inflection point do you actually get emotional? And I think initially I love the idea of doing it with someone trusted, right? Like a close friend, and then making the mistakes there, and also then retell that story without the emotions. I think over time, I believe, I know it sounds a bit simple, but it should get better, I believe. And then also time yourself. How long do you tell that story? And then Andre will say,
Yeah.
tell it to me in 1 minute, please. I don't have all
Yeah,
day.
cut it down. Yeah, just practice, right? Just practice
Yeah.
cutting it down. It doesn't mean you have to use the final edited version, but make sure it's not too long. And one thing I want to add, Eileen,
Yeah.
when you shared with me that question, the word emotional came about.
Yeah.
This, I guess, one advice is, we've never, not all of us will have great experiences. Meaning, we may have left previous jobs because of a difficult boss or a horrible, whatever the reason was. And I think it is our job, all of us, not to carry that story in a negative way as we move forward. The reason is, firstly, we don't know whether the people in that company are not working in this company or know the boss that's interviewing us.
Exactement.
I think we have to really sit down to help fight that emotion. We need to sit down to think about, how do I phrase that in a way that does not put down the company and situation.
Yeah.
Right? If I didn't like the boss I was working with, maybe the better way to say was that there was
Differences.
we had different values. We
Yeah.
had differences, different values.
Yeah.
We saw things differently.
Yeah.
We measured outcomes differently.
Yeah.
It's because it's also difference, right? That's the difference. And stay within that positive tone of it. If you didn't like the culture, then say it's a difference in culture.
I think the approaching it, I love that one also. Drawing out what's different, and that caused the conflict or the challenge, and then the realization of the preferences. Like, I still prefer this way and not the other way. I mean, the differences is one way, but Andre, you shared something earlier on. You were so transparent when you mentioned that, look, those opportunities never come my way. I wanted to be posted overseas, it never come my way.
Yeah.
And that's already showing that vulnerable side of you. In fact, I was a bit gobsmacked just now. I was like, wait, what, Andre? Wow. I mean, because we expect to show such a polished front in front of, to anybody. Like, you're seeing me for the first time, I'm going to show you how good I am. But things happen, and you are just addressing it. You're addressing it, and what you didn't leave the audience with was stating that, and then that's it, don't talk about it. But what you close off with is, what did you do about it? Sometimes mistakes happen, but I mean, that wasn't a mistake, but it's sort of, so instead of sitting there and having the victim mindset, that why am I not given those opportunities, you are making something out of it. Self-funding. Expensive though.
And all those countries you read in my profile, I did the work from here.
I see.
Even if I couldn't go there.
Yeah. Amazing.
So never quit. Stay in the fight.
Okay. Very, very nice. Yeah. So, on that emotional piece, write it down. And then if there are mistakes made, write about the mistakes. Lessons learned, write about it. How you're going to cope with it, what you have learned better. Because we all grow. We all evolve. I love what you mentioned about evolving. The career tips map. You talk about evolve. So this version of you that the employer is seeing is not the same version that you were in that setup, because the setups are different. So show them what's different. I've learned that, something like this. Yeah. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, that's nice to say. So because we do evolve, we have different life stages.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And sometimes the role we have now, it doesn't fit our current life stage. We have to move on.
Yeah, and Andre, haven't we all always hear people always say, I want to show you the best version of me. But you know what? I would go for your everyday version. Because you can show me your best version during interview, but after I hire you, oh gosh, I'm seeing your everyday version, and this is you. When will I get to see the best version?
Yeah.
Wait.
Sometimes I want to be a bit too much of wisdom, and I'll tell them,
No.
I never believe in the best, because the best means it's absolute. That means that's the day I die. I deal with better every day. What can I make better? Because the best has it's the end. The book has closed, right?
Yeah, yeah. The book has closed. Yeah, I think this is the version you're gonna get out of me. I'm pretty
Yeah.
confident I can do it. You know, yeah. I really like that. So can I ask you? There's another question that came in about
Yeah.
are career brand stories different from personal branding?
Yeah, I think that's totally different thing. Career brand
Mm,
stories, I mean, with the word career, that totally focuses a lot on career.
mm,
And
mm.
people want to see the career side of things.
Yeah.
What you've accomplished in your career. It's all about accomplishments, impact, who you know, big names that you've been with, or big projects you've taken on. Even you don't have a big company name, but wow projects, regional, global, whatever, universal, who knows.
Mm,
But I think personal brand comes down on, and maybe it's just me being 50. Well, I think personal brand is even more important because then you start to realize career does not define quality of life.
mm, mm.
Personal brand drives who you are for a quality of life that you're looking for. And career doesn't always give that to us. It doesn't always. Not many people can align all of it. If you can, awesome, great, it's fantastic. But not many people have the social standing, upbringing, education to align these two together. Some of them have to work because they have to work, right? I can't say anything about that, but personal brand is really that deeper meaning that you talk about who you are as a person. And it can shine in your career, it can, but it doesn't take on your entire career branding.
Yeah, you should share with the audience what do you do, helping youths.
Oh, yeah, that's
That keeps you
yeah, that's
busy.
this started off because I didn't come from great upbringings where I could afford universities. I went through the normal system process. I had to work to pay for everything. So I had after my A levels, I was like, you have to go and work. So I had to go and work. But that was not the end of it. But I realized as I think back every time about kids in school, how the challenges they face, like I face, and no one to turn to, especially worse in the 70s when I was growing up. It's so ridiculous, right? If you tell anyone a problem, you just get shoved into a corner or you get ostracized, and no one helps you. So I decided to help kids, but more specifically when they have any mental health challenges. And it gets harder now for kids in this generation where they want to talk to someone, not a parent, but someone who can just openly listen and not judge them for whatever things that's happening in society these days. And they just want someone to listen and just be there for them.
Right.
So that's one target, but also helping people who are trying to get into the workforce, especially if they want to come into the learning world. That's why I put the mentor link out there. Can you
Right.
help? And people reach out to me for jobs, roles. What do they do? Can I have a half an hour chat with you? That's what I'm trying to do with the youth to help them because I'm going to go. They're the next generation that's going to come in.
Right.
Yeah.
Very nice. Whoa. I mean, hey guys, everyone listening in, there's an open invitation. Jump on it. Jump on it. Jump on it. Yeah. Expect all the connection requests coming in. I think there's a question coming in as well from City. When we prepare our resume, especially the summary statement, would a career brand summary be better than our own personal brand?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Answer that straight. Yes,
Yeah.
please.
You see lah, I
Unless
haven't even finished asking the question.
Okay, let me.
Okay,
That's
sorry.
the perspective why I say
Teasing you.
yes. Because from a multinational perspective, I don't need to know your personal brand. I need to know your career brand because I'm hiring you for your career. But let's just say you're a counselor, you're a social worker that works in society. Of course, I want to know who you are, but you're not just a career. Who are you as a person? Because person ethics is so important, even more so important in those fields versus career ethics from a multinational perspective. Right now, don't get me wrong that they don't care about you personally. It's a whole different perspective. And as much as we try to be more open from a multinational perspective, do people really care that I'm a father of 3 boys? No. They wouldn't, right? It's like like great information, thank you. But let's talk about the impact you've made.
No, it's very necessary information for the singles. No, I'm
So
just
I
kidding.
would
Yeah.
think that two different things, and
Yeah.
yet I do see that it's blending. It's
Yeah,
starting to blend, but I
definitely.
don't think it's fully there. I mean, there are platforms that we use in multinational space. Like you have your learning platform, you have your social learning platform, you have all this. We tend to put in a bit more information about our personal brand. So examples like things I put in is like I
Right.
skateboard over the weekends, I paddleboard with youth, things like that. I put in so a
Oh
bit more of the
gosh.
brand.
That explains
Um,
your man bun. And don't think I never noticed it. I notice it. It doesn't escape me. Whoa, you are really personifying, your brand. This is so cool. This is so cool. Yeah. I mean, yeah, so
in
you got
small subtle ways.
this is really cool. I mean, you have no issues, right? Working across generation. Yeah, that helps. I think when it comes to giving the summary statement in your resume, keep to the facts, because resume is where we need to be concise, to the point. I usually recommend like 3 paragraphs, but the 3 paragraph could be single sentences or 2 sentences, 3 sentences at the max. Like the first one, you talk about the years of experience, industries that you have worked in, and also maybe some notable names of organizations. Then the second paragraph is about my core strengths is in. Then you can talk about all my core expertise is in. Then you can talk about one achievement, one strength, And then the last one is really about your career direction. Like going forward, I am keen in pursuing blah blah blah. Or you can talk about how everything that that you have gained is gonna add an impact, create an impact in, and then talk about your future direction. It could be industry as well, industry, company, or role. Hopefully that helps, and then leave
Can
the
I?
storytelling. So sorry. Yeah, to the
No problem.
interview itself and the conversation. Andre, over to you.
Yes, let's just add on as well. Add on
Please.
to all that Eileen has said. I think from an aesthetic look and feel, go to Canva. Canva has so many options that you can look at and you can copy if you don't want to, right? Of course, it takes time for you to copy. You may not have the skill, but it gives you an idea of how to aesthetically put things in place.
So
Second, go
nice.
to people's LinkedIn account and read what they're writing about
Oh, I
themselves.
love that. Yeah, I love that.
The
What?
answers are all there. Copy and paste that, then go to ChatGPT, put it in there. And then as you put stuff in there, say to ChatGPT things like, I
Right,
want to include
right.
this point, this point, and this point. And then whatever results that come out, maybe you've played with ChatGPT and you say, Andre, don't tell me this stuff I already know. We can even tell ChatGPT, make it formal, make it less informal, or make it more corporate. You can type things like that, and they'll just
Professional
keep churning out
tone,
examples.
more social tone, right? More
Just keep
promotional
churning.
tone.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so cool. Whoa. Tammy is squeezing in one more question. Okay, she's saying that she's getting mixed responses
It's
on this
advisable.
matter. Is it advisable to input all the experience like more than 10 years or irrelevant experience to the role in the resume?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll give you my perspective. I'm in my 5th decade of my life. I don't think anyone needs to see
Hello, hello,
what I
hello.
did
You're
when
still
I'm
younger than I,
when
you
I'm
see.
20. So what I normally do, is to give information, maybe like the last, let's just say 10 years. I'll go back 10 years,
Okay.
and then I'll indicate like there's more information on my LinkedIn profile, or reach out to me and I'll share more. I'll do that because there's so much space you can put on an A4, right? And again, if you're young, if you need all that time to do it, then put all that 10 years in there. But I think as you progress in your decades, the most important is usually the last 3 or the last 4 that you've been in. They want to see how all that. But also the logic is this. If the last 4 is going to show what you know and what you've built up as capabilities to help you in the next role, then put those 4 there. Right? And that's where you can discuss, and then say, for more information of all the other years, I'll send more when we connect more, I can give you more, something like that. It's the easiest way to approach these things.
Very nice. Okay, do we have any more questions? I only have one last question in terms of the advanced list of questions that came in. What are some of the pitfalls? What are the do not do list?
Uh, okay, this is do not do as a brand or when I'm in the interview. Which one should we focus it on?
When sharing your career brand story.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think don't inflate it. Don't inflate, meaning you're telling a lie. Don't inflate it. Don't downplay it as well. Say it as it is. I've worked to cover projects in these regions, right? Don't change it to I led these regions. You didn't lead the region. Right? So watch the words that you're using to bring out the experience. And if I want to, for example, when Eileen introduced for regions, what was I trying to say? The brand was, if you look at my deepen, sharpen, broaden, what was the brand? It's deepen and sharpening. I was trying to emphasize that. I did my assessment, I'm cultivating, and how did I do that? I expanded what I could do from a Singapore market to other markets. So it aligns to where I'm trying to go with my brand. I've worked with different markets. Have you been an expat in different countries? No, I didn't have that opportunity. But in order to acquire the experience and exposure, I did projects that covered different markets. Right? So why did it happen? Firstly, does it not save the company money?
Oh yes, everything has
Right?
a dollar.
Correct. Dollar value. To move an entire family is going to cost you thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
If the job can be done here even before the hybrid culture came about, it can be done. Why not?
Yep.
Why not get it done?
Yep.
Yeah. So always trying to align it back to that brand, that thing that you're trying to push out as a main idea. So that's common. That's one common. People don't inflate it. Second, people not linking it back to what their brand is all about. Right. So other pitfalls that I see in brands is that we don't think about how our brand matches the role we want, or that role not we want, sorry, the role we are applying for.
Oh wow, yeah, that's good. That's good.
Now I've been in moments in my life where I just applied for jobs because I needed a job, but that was to me something I should have never done as well. That was my early days in my career, because you wanted a job and you cast a net. And as I got older, with more accountability, more commitments, and blah blah blah, those kids and parents and all that, took out a house and mortgage. You can't just do that. You're gonna kill yourself. And what is my clear brand, and does it match that role that I'm doing? Because when you go in for that interview, they can clearly see a mismatch straight away when you speak. They don't feel that they really like this job.
Sorry, I love how you call the elephant out in the room though. Like you anticipate, right? Like in case there's a question that asks, so did you do all these projects while you're in that country? You already kind of indirectly call it out and say it up front. Whoa. Sarah asked this quick question. In the final interview round with the director, how can we tell our story in a short and direct manner, because the director always look impatient?
Always look impatient. Okay.
I would please.
First, I'm so sorry, Sarah, that you're experiencing that.
But it's good that she's made it to final round. Wow, congrats.
And the great thing is that under stress and pressure, you recognize the emotion in someone else. And I think one of the great things to ask is sometimes, is it okay if I just close off by sharing a quick summary of my brand or about me? And the person goes, yes, because then you can even say, I asked because you look like you need to go off immediately after this. So can I just take 1 minute or 2 minutes to just share that? Right? So I'm acknowledging the person. I'm acknowledging the person's value and priority as well. And I'm seeking permission to do that. And then please rehearse it to do it in 1 minute. And not take 15.
Yeah. That's where the writing comes in, because then you can really wordsmith it. Yeah.
And one common pitfall in your brand, but I ask this whether it's your brand or your interview, because you demonstrate your brand on your resume and in your interview. Building the brand happens in your resume and in your interview. Never, 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 ever say you have no questions when they ask you at the end. Do you have any questions? No. If you ever walk away from today's session, never, never, never say no question. Even if you say, but I genuinely don't have a question, then all you have to do is say, Andre, do you have a question? I don't have a question. But what I'm thinking about what you said was 1, 2, 3, 4. Did I understand that correctly? Yes. Just have to say that. Finish off with you having the final say.
Or even make a pitch.
Or make a point. Because if you say, no questions. This is how the conversation. Andre, do you have any questions? No question. Okay, thank you, Andre. Thank you. That's the weakest closing ever.
I think, Andre, were you in sales? You were, because you ran your own business. I know that. Yeah, because those are sales tactics as well. Calling out the elephant in the room or anticipating the objections and saying up front first. I mean, up front, not like the first thing you say, but somehow weave it in there, right? I really like that. And the closing. Whoa, closing.
That's so important for them. Yeah, they will remember you because human memory, we remember the beginning and the end. The end.
Yeah.
Maybe in the middle, but anything in those different parts, it's hard to recall. That's why we remember breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but in between we don't know what we ate.
And your last girlfriend. No, I'm just kidding. Wow. Oh, your spouse better not be listening. She will not let you come back again.
Please make that plural.
Plural. Oh, I see. Okay, just any advice for, I mean, I think this is, I promise you, is the last question, because I know you are already giving us so much of your time. What advice do you have for fresh grads with little or no experience? Very difficult to craft a career brand story. Ruby did give some advice about CCA activities, volunteering work and all that. Your view.
Yeah. And First City, thanks for saying that, and Ruby for contributing. Reframe. I will do what my boss would say to me sometimes in my previous job. He'll tap and say, reframe. Let's look at what you have done. And let's draw out that experiences and see how that's going to help you in your work life. Were you a leader of a ECA or CCA? Did you have to organize anything? Were you part of a committee? What did you have to do? And if you start to map all those things out, you start to see, oh, this is part of work. So I was able to organize. I was able to connect with vendor. That's called vendor management. I was able to source for supply for my fun fair. Oh, okay, I was supplying and sourcing. I was able to come up with billboards and that's called media and communications. So you have to start thinking that way, right? It is not fair to say to any one of us that, oh, I'm a graduate or I don't have experience. You have, for a fact that you've graduated. You've graduated with things, because we only concern the academic graduation. Think about the non-academic stuff you've done.
Projects,
during those times. Yeah.
Yeah. All those, wow, Andre, you have given us more than what you have prepared on your deck. Thank you so much for your sharing. We really appreciate, and I think for the rest of us, I'm sure they'll agree with me that you have really demonstrated and used this session to show us how a career brand story can be articulated. Yay!
Thanks everyone, and all the best. All the best. I'm also receiving the notifications, so I'm accepting your invites on LinkedIn. But all the best in your journeys, and stay in the fight.
Yeah.
All right, cheers.
Yeah,
see you guys.
thank you.